Hello, product people. Welcome to the new season of The Product Perspective. This year, we're diving deep into the minds of product creators, innovators, founders, and industry leaders. Get ready to uncover the strategies, stories, and the insights that fuel successful products in today's dynamic landscape. So buckle up and let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Product Perspective. For everyone joining us, thank you for tuning in, both our regular listeners and anyone joining us for the first time. I'm pretty excited today because for the past 12 to 18 months, personally, I've been trying to absorb as much knowledge about product-led growth as I can. So I couldn't pass up an opportunity to speak with today's guest, Mudit Singh, Head of Growth and Marketing at LambdaTest. LambdaTest, put simply, is a cloud-based cross-browser testing platform, notably a fantastic PLG-based business. And Mudit has actually been there since the beginning as one of the founding team members, bringing a wealth of experience in building products from the ground up, including PLG, and delivering high levels of customer value. So let's dive into the principles and the strategies behind successful product-led growth. This is an episode you can't afford to miss, so sit back, relax, and let's get started. Welcome, Mudit. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. So you joined LambdaTest as a founding team member, and I'm really keen to hear how that journey has been for you, because LambdaTest has been growing leaps and bounds since starting.
Yeah, first of all, John, thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be part of this podcast, and looking forward to a great conversation together. Now, to summarize my journey past in the LambdaTest specifically, so joined LambdaTest as one of the founding team members. I was role number 6, I think. So for past 6.5 years, we have been building up LambdaTest, and in fact, PLG has been the most important strategy for us to grow. We have now 2 million plus developers, testers, DevOps engineers, everybody who is using our platform. So we have people from Fortune 500 companies all the way till freelancers and startups who are using our product. So the journey has been a roller coaster so far, but mostly good. And the user-centric approach, which is right now called PLG, has been something that has started off, that has been our core strategy, has been like not just product, but also the overall growth strategy that has been with us. Community building was core of what we had in a vision or mission statement when we started off in LambdaTest in 2017, and that has continued so far. People start to say that, yeah, at a stage, PLG approach do not work, but we are one of those examples that kind of disprove that for us, even at this stage, that is still a approach.
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years, larger businesses, when they've been struggling to sell into enterprise and close large contract deals, they started to think, well, maybe we need to start preparing ourselves for PLG. Mm-hmm. And then they have spent a lot of time doing that. And then because maybe I feel PLG is very much a cultural thing. It starts, the core of the business everyone needs to be PLG mindset.
Yeah.
And you then have these larger organizations that are selling into large enterprise, and then it doesn't work for them. So they think PLG doesn't work. And we need to do some hybrid sales assisted PLG, and then that doesn't work. So they go back to full sales led or marketing and sales led approach.
Yeah, so but I will be saying honest about this fact that a lot of strategies is very dependent upon what the company is, what the product is, what the business model is, and of course, no one strategy fits with every business. Yeah. So we cannot say that one strategy that is working for another company would work for you as well. People have to evolve, find it out, hit and try their own method. And even in the later stages, usually PLG is not the only strategy. People move and expand, add in more set of channels to their already current user base. And that's natural. That's the natural way how the business expands. But I'll say there's fundamentals that is there in the product-led growth approach, specifically things like user centricity, things like seamless onboarding, things like frictionless like the product should be very intuitive. So all of those core centricity, and most importantly, like the first part that I highlighted, the user centricity. So that is pretty important approach. No matter what marketing or onboarding or whatever strategy you are building, whether you are an enterprise product or a startup product, having that user centricity is key. So if you have that in cultural mindset, if you have that in across the team, that will be a very important factor.
How have you validated that internally, being user-centric, building for the user, making it the product frictionless? What are some of the things that you've done at LambdaTest to validate that for yourself?
Yeah, so when we started off, we were, as I said, community has been a pretty important factor for us. And when we started off, we had very small set of use cases that we wanted to solve. And in fact, we spent nearly a year just to perfect that one or two small use cases, be the best there is in that present scenario. There were enterprise kind of products in there in the market, but they were not solving that for everybody. They were just solving those issues, testing based infrastructure issues for big companies, but not for everybody. So when we started off, we went with this approach that we are going to create the best product that is out there. And that is still one of the fundamentals. But then the next feature sets, so after, I'll say, first 2 or 3 sprints, what happens next? So nearly every feature that we have built up was built up after user feedback, after what more problem statement or what more mission statements were critical to our users, and what we can do to solve it. So I'll say it was a brute force way, in the sense that we went into every sales calls possible, we went to every customer onboarding calls possible. In fact, we invited our customers. The product was self-serve. People can start up, just put in their card and start using the product. There's also a freemium plan, which is again centric to PLG approach. But even then, we went out of our way to take their opinion, what their thoughts has been on the product, what more problem statements we can solve, and based on that, the next set of features were built up. So it was in fact, sometimes it was pretty intuitive that, of course, this is a pretty important problem statement that we can solve through, we are uniquely positioned to solve it. And that started to kind of with sprint by sprint, month on month, we started to add up new features. We never went into let's say a copy paste approach. We just went into, this is the feature set that our users wanted, and then analyzed which feature sets are important for a larger set of users, worked on that, and started to iterate, make it better. So it's a step-by-step approach. And users are, in fact, even right now, we have a very big user community of nearly 2 million people, developers and testers, who are using the platform, as I highlighted. But that customer-centric approach is still there. Our customer success teams, our sales teams, all of those are ears on the ground. They are helping us get the voice of the customer, analyze which feature sets are most important for them, and based on that, we iterate our roadmaps.
Yeah, so I'm guessing in the early days, the company was heavily skewed towards the product development team, or product was the larger team in the organization, let's say under 50 employees. So in those first few years, when you were building out these features that customers are asking for, and you deliver something to them, you collect their feedback, how much time would you then spend actioning? Let's say you didn't hit the mark and they said, oh, actually, this is the problem we were trying to solve, but you've done this other thing. Would you then immediately go and iterate and spend time trying to fix that?
So yeah, of course, that is the use case that that is the problem statement we kind of encountered often. One of the most important challenges has been the performance part of things. So for example, they ask for a feature, though we have met the required dots, but then it comes out that the performance is not right, it's slow, or maybe it's not as per their expectations. So then we have to iterate, innovate more. In fact, that also opened up the way to innovate. Until and unless we understand what is the pain point that they are facing, we won't be able to innovate on that particular problem. So that has been there, but in our early days, for us, it was pretty brute force. As I highlighted earlier, we used to go on a lot of calls. So time spent wise, it was pretty much, let's say, hours and hours of spend. In fact, mine and Asad and Jay, like all the co-founders of the companies as well, we used to spend a lot hours in calls just to understand what is the issue that we are facing. And we have been pretty lucky so far. We got a great product ambassadors in the form of our customers who worked with us, deep dive into the console logs and all the issues that they were getting. But of course, now these things are a little bit automated in the sense that we have those logs pre-built. But in our early days, we didn't have the right tooling to kind of help us out with those issues. So we had to go on our customer calls, see what logs. So this is the most important developer problem statement, right? It is working on my machine, but is not working on the customer, right?
Yes.
So we have to go on a call with them to understand what is happening in that customer machine. So those problem statements were there, but yeah, we have evolved pretty far from that particular, let's say, those particular use cases.
Yeah, and I think you really highlighted before the inadvertently some of the main, like the guiding principles that underpin successful product-led growth strategy, and
Mhm.
that is that everyone in the organization is part of that the user journey,
Yeah,
and they're all working towards helping the user grow through the product. You're
yeah,
building for the user. It started. It sounds like it was the goal at the beginning to be product led,
yeah.
and you've taken that and it's grown through the company, and it continues to be that today. So, in terms of user acquisition, you've hinted that community has been really important for LambdaTest in terms of acquisition for the product. How can companies effectively leverage their products to attract new users organically?
Right. So usually when we start off by saying community, people start to think in the sense there is a community portal or there is a forum of that particular company and it is helping them grow. But for me, for us, the community is not just one channel. It's a collective ecosystem that you have built around you. So that includes things like, of course, portal is there, but that also include things like your GitHub repositories, what you are doing to help the users on board. Specifically, we are as a dev tech product, so that is there. Our customer documentation itself is a very important factor. It should be very seamless, should help in self-serve. There is also other aspects. So for us, discoverability is a very important factor. So anybody who is facing a pain point should be able to find a tooling like us. So in that regards, pure marketing things like SEO becomes important. Ensure that you have a good visibility across. Then there is also social media platforms. So those also become important, that you have a great presence across this. You are sharing your journey, sharing your this. But the most important factor is ensure that there is a conversation happening between you and your end users, and that could happen in a one-to-one forum, in a one-to-many forum, or in a many-to-many forum. So for
Mm.
example, we have as I said, we go on a regularly with our customers. We go on a calls with them regularly, so that's a one-to-one. We have all these webinars that we are doing, all the other insights that we are sharing across, that is one-to-many. And there is also many-to-many. So we have our flagship conference like TestMu happening, where we get an insights. We also have a very important DevRel activities that are happening, so that also helps us across. We have a Spartans community, that means we have a product ambassador community. So it's, we understand first that we are not the experts in everything, so we connect with other experts who are in this field, get to understand what their knowledge, like what their guidance is on specific topics, what their experience has been, and get to learn from over there. So think in this regard. So start off with a very small set of users, small set of people whose problem you want to solve, and then starts to add more people to it. Like, these are the problems I want to solve more. These are the problems I want to start more. So that will automatically build up a community. It should not be a one-way street. It should be a two-way street. It should be a communication. And as you add more and more people to your ecosystem, you will start to grow. Rest all, I'll say, are marketing tactics. SEO and everything, these are all techniques, but they will fail until and unless you have that right connect with the users.
Yeah, I think there's two community groups that has actually blown me away
Yeah.
in the past, and the first one was the customer success community, and I attended Gainsight PX in the US many years ago, but I also attended they ran an APAC one here in Sydney, and the customer success community was insane. They were not Gainsight customers necessarily, but they were coming together to share knowledge. And the next community that actually blew me away as well, not surprisingly, it was actually the LambdaTest community through TestMu. And so I attended the conference. I was there. It's a free conference. It was great. I know nothing about automated testing and testing platforms, but I did attend and watched a few of the keynotes and joined there was like an open platform area for people to chat, and joined that and had people just getting together and talking together and being together. And it actually blew me away. Like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, so that's in fact has been, as I mentioned, our fundamental mission statement, that we have to foster a conversation. We have to become part of it. We does not have to, let's say, become an enterprise that just focus on it, but we have to become a part of that particular ecosystem, particular conversation, foster that community building, and let's say just talk with people, right? That is the most important factor. So as I mentioned, one of the important factors in PLG-led motion has been customer centricity, and that is in fact you will see in nearly every great PLG companies. That include big companies like GitHub, Slack. They had those great community buildings, and including enterprises, Google, Microsoft, AWS. Everybody is just focusing on that part, and that is helping them grow. No matter if you are a startup or even an enterprise, it's pretty there is a very small starting point that you can take. Just pick up a phone, let's say, just connect with your users, understand what their pain points are, and that would be the starting point.
Yep. So that's interesting for this next question, or I guess next topic, and that is, so that's one way, you connecting with your users directly, getting on a phone, talking to them in a forum, or being part of their world as well as a company within that community. And retaining users is definitely critical for sustainable growth. Without our users, growing, then us as product owners, our products don't necessarily grow. And to, I guess, enable sustainable business expansion, what role does the product play in that process?
Yeah, so in fact, that is the most important question as well. So most of the things that I have been saying is pretty great, sounds great as well. And in the sense that it is something that you have to do, but at a scale, now you have to start looking at numbers. So another fundamental part about the whole PLG strategy is you have to do a very data-centric analysis and a data-centric approach to everything that you are doing. So what that means is, from the product perspective, you should have a lot of data that you should be gathering, specifically about the usability of the product, what features are being used most, where is there is a drop in the overall onboarding process, where is there like which features are used at a certain point of your expectations, which features you have to expand on because there is a friction over there. So all of that is something that you built up through your data. You invest in that particular part, and of course any point where the data is not available or you're not able to make sense out of that data, then that means that is the area where you have to go do a deep dive and connect with the customers in that particular regard. But up to a point, data is the key. So you have to analyze what is happening, and most importantly, as I mentioned, product has to be pretty smooth, onboarding has to be pretty great, the user feedback mechanisms should be there. So it's not just in the data points, but also giving a voice to the users. Not everybody would respond to an email, not everybody would come on a call with you. Sometimes they either don't have that much of time to invest with you, or sometimes like they're just not want to go on the call. So better than to give them a way to at least speak their voice, maybe one to one. One of the most important things that we started off in that regard was having a chat support. So when we started off, we were one of the first companies, in fact the whole tech marketing tech ecosystem, to have that that chat support features, and now it is now the cornerstone of our overall customer success strategy. So even today as well, we get hundreds of people on that chat support, even though we have documentation and everything in place to help them on board, but they still ask very basic things over there, and that helps us to connect with them as well.
Yep.
So we have, in fact, we had the industry best timing of respond over there. So give you an example, our competitors, their response times earlier used to be in 24 hours or 48 hours. So you had to write them in an email that I'm facing this issue. And specifically in our ecosystem where we are a testing product, people first think that the tool is broken rather than their tests are broken, right? So they, just to be confident, they send back, they want to ensure that it's not an issue from our side, so they want to connect with you, so they send an email. If the response is in 24 hours, 48 hours, that's a very bad thing for us. The response time because of our chat support was in 1.2 minutes, so within a minute you have that surety that yes, we'll be there to help you out every step of the way. So product and customer success both go hands in hand. The tooling should be there to give voice to your users. The product should be pretty good. There should be any, it should be pretty smooth, frictionless. It should work as advertised, should solve problem statements that you are advertised. It does not have to be a solution for every possible problems. It does not have to be necessarily, does not have to be a very big solution of like an ecosystem of multiple solutions, but it just has to solve few problems, and it has to solve it the best possible way that is available. In fact, that has been pure PLG strategy. So when PLG started off, everybody was under this, I'll say, philosophy that the product should be so good that it sells itself, right?
Yep.
So though it practically it never happened, but the product has to be as good that it practically sells itself. So that means that you have to analyze what other solutions are there in the market, what people wants to solve and what they are not able to solve, in fact, to those tooling, and then what you can innovate. And that kind of gives you that leverage as well, like where to innovate and how to innovate. So good product combined with a good customer success, that's like the cornerstone of having a great product in a long term.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that the product definitely has to do the heavy lifting for the user, and the user has to feel like they're growing through the product, and then that ties into the whole go-to-market and pricing strategy. And as you said, you've got a freemium option there, so when the user does sign up, they feel well supported. The product is easy to use. They grow in the product, and they feel like, okay, I need to consume more from this product. I'm ready now to start giving this company some money, and then get more value, and then they'll share this product with their team members and maybe their clients, depending on what the customer profile is, and they invite more people in, and then that little community of people then grows bigger, and everyone's happy.
So scalability is there. And like, though we have a freemium model, I won't say that is the only model to follow. The idea here is that somebody has a problem statement right now. They are trying to find it. They land it on your website, either through SEO, maybe through social media, or through some place. They sign up, or maybe they should have a way to actually evaluate the product from their own. So either it could be a premium plan, as we have, maybe through a free trial, what people provide, let's say 7-day trial, 14-day trial, or maybe some other way. But the earlier days where there has to be a sales and onboarding team, then only you have to connect with them, and then only you will be able to gain value, those days are over. So it's more focused around that the user should be able to evaluate the tool as early as possible, get first set of value out of it, and when the point comes to scale, that points come to monetize that factor, then you can add in more set of teams, maybe customer success teams, to help them get the most out of their investment. Maybe add in more things that they have not evaluated from their own, that your products can solve as well. So all of those are valid approach, agreed. But the idea here is, and I will not just say should be a self-serve product, but the value add that some users can get out of your product should be as early as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the numbers are there in terms of PLG being a viable strategy for businesses approaching it the right way. There's great reports available for people if they're interested. Kyle Poyer from Growth Unhinged, they produce a report. Also, I think Paddle have their pricing metrics report, which talks about pricing for different styles of go-to-market. And PLG, whether it's flat PLG, self-service, or sales assisted, whether you have a free trial, a freemium free trial, 7 days, 14 days, or a reverse trial. Yeah, you can definitely find out the viability of that for your size business. So I guess talking about that, PLG is in the last probably 18 months to 2 years definitely gained a lot of popularity. I did read something on LinkedIn somewhere that the PLG, I guess the acronym was formed right around when Kyle Poyer actually started talking about it with Growth Unhinged, which I don't think it actually came from Kyle at all. But it's not without its challenges, generally speaking. So what are some of the common obstacles that companies face when they're implementing a product-led growth strategy? How can you overcome these? And I guess we can talk about that from two angles. One, I'm a brand new, fresh company. I've got an idea and we're building something and we think we want to be PLG, or I'm an established business and this is something we want to look at.
So there are two ways to look at these options. I'll say the most challenges that happens. So one is of course a cultural issue that we highlighted earlier as well. So it's a mindset as well. So and it's not just, let's say, for the customer success teams or sales teams or marketing teams. It has to be across, so ranging from founders all the way till the interns that you have in the company. The mindset should be there that we have to be a user-centric platform. In fact, that was there in our early days as well. So when we start off, as I mentioned, chat support was a very important aspect. There in chat support, nearly 50 people were there to respond. That include our co-founders. Everybody in that was there in chat support to ensure that we are just 15 people in the team, but our response time should be 1.5 minutes. So that was the culture that we started to build up, and it's still there right now. We are still personally managing and checking out each chat, each email that we get on customer support, but that is there. But then the next aspect comes in, so cultural aspect, the next aspect comes into the product aspect as well. So somebody who is starting off, they are either scared about the prices involved. So for example, I'm giving my product for free to users and it's gonna cost me something, because for them it's free resource. So how will that work out? So usually that is the first, I'll say, the scare factor to go in a PLG route, that should I give a premium users or not, freemium free trial user or not. But in our experience, it is of course added cost. Specifically for a product like us, that was pure infrastructure. It had been a cost, but it paid itself when we were able to show value to the users and kind of scale up, monetize that fact, right? So as a learning, there is that you have to optimize your costs in that way. That is why I'm saying it's not necessarily have to be a freemium model. You have to either can go with a trial option, or maybe kind of cut down how many features you want to provide at the get-go. So it's up to you how to set off up. The idea is to provide the users with a way to test the tool out before doing an investment. Then there is another issue that usually comes, and that is with the enterprises, that I already have a product. Now I want to reshape everything to make it, let's say, to make it user-centric, to do that free trial way and everything. It's gonna incur a lot of cost, and maybe we have to drastically change our playbook. So our solution to that problem is usually to bifurcate the product lines, or maybe to give few set of features that you think would be a starting value add, and open that up to a PLG. And it has worked for a lot of companies, specifically companies that want to expand into SMB or mid markets. So enterprise to enterprise dealing, that is there. But if you want to expand, in a SMB mid market, you want more freelancers or more startups using your tooling so that you grow with them as well. So best way is to provide a set of features that you can readily make available to them to start and onboard, start using, and then scale up your ecosystem. So for example, HubSpot, that has been a great example for that. So Intercom, Drift, all of these companies, they have been a great example of that. Notion, one of the best examples of that. And of course, Google. So you start off with Gmail, then you scale up more and more and maybe become part of that ecosystem, right? So idea is it's possible no matter what stage you are, no matter what type of product you have. You just have to find out ways that makes it economical for you. Start off with few set of features, hit and try, see what works, what sticks. Whatever works and sticks, scale that up. and then reiterate. So it's all about evolution. It's all about innovating in that particular ecosystem, and nearly every company is trying it off, at least if not going 100% on board on a PLG strategy. But I'll say eventually it will become not eventually. In fact, even right now, it is a very big competitive advantage to have that role model to go up. So even in a tooling space where a lot of companies have a product like Notion or a platform like Notion, Notion is still leading because they have that right mindset, right? So that applies to other ecosystems as well.
Yeah, I think startups or people starting up a business, they're worried about cannibalizing future revenue
Yeah.
by having a freemium plan, and they don't necessarily, or maybe they don't think about that economy of scale. That if we're doing things the right way and we have a mechanism, like you said, as either it's freemium or a trial, a way for these users coming on board to test and try and make an informed decision in that period before paying. That, yeah, if you get that economy of scale and you work with the user, have those conversations with them early on, then it will pay off in the end. And for the larger organization, it's probably a similar feeling. Like, we're going to cannibalize our current revenue.
Yep.
We're going to have large customers that if we roll out a free plan, we know that I call this apathetic revenue, where you have customers that aren't necessarily using your product, and they may not have used your product for the last 6 months, but they're paying you monthly. And maybe they would actually suit a free plan because it's free. They can use it in 6 months' time, and they can pay again in 6 months. They worry about that. We're going to cannibalize our current revenue.
Yeah, Malik, and another important aspect I want to highlight, like, so we just talked about SMB and mid-market, but it is also valid for enterprise as well. The reason I say this, even in big companies right now, the person who is writing the check usually is not the user of the tool. So the user is the practitioner level or the senior managers level people that are there. They from their own selves evaluate, find out tools, and then go higher up that this is the tool I want to buy. So usually these guys are influencers, and the senior managers, until and unless they know about the tool, they won't kind of invest in the tool. So in fact, most of our big enterprises that we have closed, it's not by directly going to their CEO or CXO or VP level people. It's by their users already signed up, use the tool, find it great, and then went to higher up that I want a bigger plan of this particular tool. And then from there, the conversations happen and it scaled up. So even if you are doing an enterprise to enterprise connect, it's always great to have that kind of mechanism in place that facilitate that that the practitioners of that particular tool would practitioner of that particular company would be able to use a tool freely.
Yeah, I think there's an enormous amount of power in that bottom-up approach where you've built a product that users love to use. Because so many tools are just passed on. I'm a new employee in an organization. This is the tool that you have to use. And because I'm forced to use this tool, I don't know, let's pick a couple of tools. Acme CRM and Enterprise CRM. And I'm used to using Acme CRM, which is user-friendly. It's a great tool. I can do everything in it. But now I'm forced to use Enterprise CRM. It's hard. It takes a long time to do things. There's problems. I can't do things. It's so much harder for me. I don't love the experience. I'm not going to go and recommend that to people in the team. I'm not going to try and take that with me to the next employer that I go to. But if I go for Acme CRM and I love using that, I'm more likely to share that, go to the next employer and take that with me, implement it there, get people on board, start paying for it, and that they grow with me.
Yeah, and most important factor, one of these days the enterprise CRM's contract will get over. So when they will have to renew, they will go with the Acme CRM, because now the most of the team is subconsciously or maybe in a stealth mode using that tool. And when it times comes to actually do an evaluation, usually the Acme CRM wins, even if it is pricier, just because there is a push from ground up that we want to use this product, not use that product.
Yeah, I didn't want to name any CRMs just in case. So how do you see the landscape of product-led evolving in the future? Is there anything that you're seeing that's emerging in terms of trends or even technology that will shape the next phase of PLG strategy?
So yeah, of course, a lot of tooling is being built up on this part. There is a ton of tooling that is already there. So as I mentioned, the PLG approach is centered upon the data collection part of things. So any tool that helps you do that, that is great. It's gonna evolve, help out in your strategy, because again, you have to do that analysis, do the number crunching, see which features, how the product is used, which features are working, which is not working. All of those factors you have to do. So data is pretty important. The other factor is, as I mentioned, that the things that can help you do one-to-one connect with your customers, end users in any form, either just through a simple chat message that itself is there, or maybe one-to-many connect. So those toolings are pretty important in that. The overall PLG strategy, I'll say, is of course pretty has been evolving. So when we started off, we didn't know it was called a PLG strategy in 2017, right? So now last 2-3 years we understand, okay, we have been doing PLG for some time now. So but yeah, like even in right now, you go and ask nearly every PLG expert, they will have a different philosophy or different definition for it. So it's a pretty evolving field. So idea is not to go with terms. Idea is not to see if you are doing a PLG strategy or product led sales strategy or something. The idea is you have to connect with your users. That is primary requirement. What can be done to make that easier, smoother, it's important. And you have to do it consistency. So that means you connect with them today, you connect with them tomorrow, month after that as well. Continuously improve your product, continuously listen to their feedback, and evolve your product so that it will kind of again scale up in the right manner, right? So and what marketing takes, tactics, strategies can help you do that, you stick with that, right? So you just don't have to copy paste an approach that works for another company that may or may not work for you. Just find out things that they have done best. If that can be incorporated into your plan, awesome. If not, innovate. There are a lot of scope to innovate even right now.
Yep, I think it's worth mentioning actually for anyone who's interested in learning how other companies have implemented PLG and the different strategies that they've used. There's actually a great resource. I think it's drewteller.com. If you search for drewteller.com product-led database, it's a database of all the different strategies that organizations have used. It covers Canva and Intercom, Drift. They're all there. All the different things they've done with their PLG journey. It's a great little resource for anyone interested. It's been fantastic speaking with you. I've learned a bunch. I'd love to keep speaking as well, but unfortunately we've hit time. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, John. It was a really great conversation.
That was my interview with Mudit Singh, the head of growth and marketing at LambdaTest, where we unboxed the strategies for sustainable expansion through product-led growth. We talked about the significance of putting users first, building communities, engaging in meaningful conversations with end users, and the critical role of customer success in nurturing a product-led growth strategy. If you'd like to hear more from product people like Mudit, subscribe to the podcast and feel free to get in touch with me with any questions or suggestions for the pod on Let's Talk at userback.io. Until the next time, bye for now.